Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Welcome to Life Lessons and Laughter with Glenn Ambrose. Here we are. We're on a special episode because not only do we have Ben Barber, but we have Dave DeAngelis.
Hey there.
Both of our producers, or all three because I'm one too.
Yeah.
So Glenn Ambrose is here as well.
Oh.
It's a trifecta.
I like that it was one episode and you already forgot your catchphrase that you said you were going to have at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. I don't
Okay,
even-
let's do this.
I literally...
that
okay,
what it
let's
was?
do this.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. That's just fly by the seat of my pants kind of stuff.
You can't proclaim it to be your new catchphrase.
Well, that
You're not
was...
gonna-
It just didn't stick. That's
It
fine.
just didn't stick, that's all.
It's been 20 minutes.
Whatever.
Well, today we are talking about enhancing your life without the God talk.
Yeah.
Why would we be talking about something like that?
I don't know. Well, I don't even know if I can do it. I think that's the challenge. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of really the idea of how this podcast started because I didn't want to go too deeply into the spirituality aspect of it because a lot of people's brains shut down when you start talking about God.
Yeah.
You know, so we kind of wanted to bring that full circle and touch on it.
You know what it is? You know what I think is a problem? I'm sure you know this already, but when, you know, like in AA, how the number one, isn't the number one thing to surrender to the higher power?
Basically, yeah.
People hate that, right? Some people can't. People are like, oh, well, you know what? I didn't come here for the religion.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I get that. And
Yeah.
I've seen like many things, like including like South Park, like saying like, you know, it's not about it's people might use that to take advantage of it and be like, oh, I have no control over my drinking. So if they actually keep drinking, they're like, it's not my fault, it's the higher power. And South Park was trying to make the point in that episode of like, it's about discipline, it's about personal discipline. And it's not about the higher power. Of course, they're known atheists, so they have
right.
the agenda. And like, but I don't know. I've seen that, and I see both sides.
Yeah, and I've been on both sides,
Right.
At least to some degree. I mean, I think unconsciously I always believed in something
Yeah.
bigger than myself, but I wouldn't admit it. I wasn't conscious of it. So, and I really didn't like it, whatever the hell it was. That's for sure. I was pissed, early on in life. But the really the point, the direction that I want to take the show in is the fact that, fine, let's just take the God words out of it.
Yeah.
And see what works, because it doesn't matter if it's true and it really works, then it doesn't matter what words you use. You know, it's like when I talk about spiritual law, I say spiritual law works whether you believe in it or whether you don't. It's like gravity. It's a law. And it doesn't matter if you believe in it. So if it doesn't matter if you believe in it, let's act like we don't believe in it, and then prove it works. And if we look back in history, it's already been proven for us. There's been many books about positive thinking. I don't think it's a big stretch in the intellectual mind that if you want to be successful at something, look at somebody who's already successful in it and do what they do. That has nothing to do with God. That just has to do with common sense. Because somebody that's successful at something is obviously doing something right. That's why they're successful at it. So, you look at the way there's been many studies on, 10 effective things of successful people and things like that. And books written about it and all this stuff. And if you look at what they're doing, they are doing the same things that we talk about in spirituality. They're just not labeling it as that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes down to positive thinking. If you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. Now, who said that? I think it might have been Henry Ford. But it was a long time ago from a successful person that said that. And people don't sit there and go, oh, that statement's not true because he's talking about God. Because no, God doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just a principle. It's a spiritual law. Whether what you're putting out is what you're going to get. So it's, if it's phrased the right way, more people are open to accepting it. The power of positive thinking. If you're thinking positively, experiment with it. Think positively about things for a period of time and see if your life gets better. I guarantee you it will. Why? Because it's spiritual law. It's a law out there that what you focus on enhances. It gets larger. So if you're thinking about positive things, there's going to be more positive things in your life. So underneath, like I get why it works. In my opinion, and it's also my opinion. Not everybody, all I want is people's lives to enhance. I don't care what they believe. I don't care why they're happy. I just want them to be happy.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I agree. What I was talking about before was all I meant by that was that I think people hear those words and they immediately, like, as you said, tune out and they're like, well, I don't want to deal with that. But it's not as black and white as that. It's like, it could mean to you, it matters on the person, right? Depends on the person. Like, it could mean Jesus. It could mean anything from that to the universe itself, just like having vibrations, energy guiding you. It could be anything and in between.
I heard of a guy in recovery that literally used a doorknob as his higher power. I swear to God. And I was like,
that could work for you, I guess.
Yeah, and he said it worked for him for a period of time. Yeah, because it was something other than himself. Because it's when you're locked into a negative position, you're locked into seeing things from your perspective only. Right. So it's a lot of people in recovery will use the group as their higher power because they don't believe in some God figure, but like a higher power just means something more powerful than yourself. So they go, okay, well, there's a group of people that are staying sober, and I can't all by myself. So this group, therefore, has more power than I have individually, so therefore it's a higher power. So they put their faith into the group, which pulls them out of addiction. Well, why does it do that? Because it trains their mind to think another way. It shifts their perspectives. And your perspective is your reality. If you're looking around and going, oh my God, look at all my problems, I'm never going to get out of this. You're not. Yeah. Guaranteed you will not get out. But if you look at all your problems and go, you know what? Little by little, if I start walking in the right direction, I'll get out of this. You will. It's that simple. So it's just a shift of perspective that you can get.
I have a question for both of you because I've never not had faith in something. And I'm wondering, is it harder for someone to accept the entire positive thinking and, is it like worse for them if they are, I see it all the time, a Reformed Catholic, if they were brought up Catholic, specifically, obviously, like there are a bunch of religions that turn people away, but in my life personally, the majority of people that I've seen that grow up to be completely agnostic or atheist, a common thread, either their parents were and brought them up that way, or they were raised Catholic, and by the time they hit like 20, they were like, that ruined.
Well, I think it's
any faith.
I think it's a good example just because that religion is so prevalent in our society, our particular society, so that's why we see it more. But yeah, it can happen with any religion because a religion is dogma. So dogma is a belief system. It's man-made, so therefore there's going to be flaws in it. There's going to be things that you like, oh, well, that seems true. Oh, but that doesn't, and it's confusing. So it can happen in any religion. But I mean, I was raised Catholic, and after I woke up spiritually, I had a major resentment against the Catholic religion because I was taught that there was some punishing God up there, and that when I did something that wasn't right, I was going to hell. And that I thought I was supposed to look up and say, hey, fix my life if you love me. And this guy was going to point his staff at me and fix everything. And then since he didn't, he must hate me. And if he hates me, I hate him too. So it was all that type of thinking, that punishing God, and that I was raised with. That it's not that. Since I've cleared my resentments towards the Catholic Church, I can look at it now and say, okay, that is not the basis for their religion. That is just how I absorbed it. That's kind of the slant on it that was taught towards me, and that's how I internalized it. Because there's many wonderful people that use the Catholic religion as a stepping stone or a pathway to do wonderful things in this world and in their own lives.
Yeah.
So if it's used the correct way, Mother Teresa is my favorite example. She just did amazing works. Why? Because she used the religion in the right way. I built a resentment towards it. I got angry at it, and once I cleared that resentment, I understood that it could be used for good or it can be used for bad, depending on how the person actually uses it. But that can build huge walls with people, and that's why I couldn't just go back to the Catholic religion after. I needed to find spirituality first, and then I could make my peace with the religion. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's important to know that spirituality and religion are two different things, or can be at least.
Yeah.
I mean, like a certain denomination is not spirituality.
Right.
Being raised Catholic, being raised Jewish, Buddhist isn't finding spirituality.
No.
You have to do that separately.
Right. It's an internal search.
Yeah.
It's
I think
individual.
people sometimes don't realize that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they hear spirituality, they think, you mean like religion?
Right.
It's like, no, that's
No.
not what that means necessarily.
No, it's just different. Religion is different boats to the same shore. You know,
Yes.
the shore is peace, happiness, connection with the creator, stuff like that is, and if you are in search of that, then you can take a boat called Catholicism or Buddhism or Hinduism, or
Anything.
any of them,
Yeah.
to get there.
Except
you know.
Scientology.
Huh?
Except
Yeah.
Science.
Do you think that your walls are higher because
Me?
of yeah?
Because
When I
being
met
raised
you,
Catholic?
when we became friends 10 years ago, you were still pretty Catholic. When we went to college in New York, I remember walking the streets trying to find a church for you to go to.
I never went, but
But
That was the start of the
to me, it's not as. I don't feel like it's as much of like a resentment. It's more of a. Well, I do resent the Catholic Church, but it's not. I don't feel like it's as personal. I think it's mostly like I saw what they were doing, and how they operate, and it's really messed up. I mean, it just is.
There's aspects of it.
I'm
that
talking
are-
like the money situations that they use, the way that priests behave nowadays. Like, and I'm not talking about anything inappropriate. I'm talking, well, I mean, it's inappropriate the way they act, but like, I'm talking like bare minimum, like being a nice person. Like, they can't do it. It's
well,
like,
the ones who are focused on the religious dogma and not the spirituality
Right.
of it, you're right. They can't, nor will they,
I
until
think
they
it-
find the
I think
spirituality
it-
underneath it.
I just think it's running rampant in that church. I think it's a disease.
I think it's running rampant in our society,
Definitely.
and that's just another version of it. You know,
That's kind of my problem. My problem with the Catholic Church is more of like I don't like who they are.
and you know, if you look, in my opinion, you know, and I'll broaden it to Christianity. Like if you look at, you know, what I do is look at spirituality pretty regularly. You know, that's my life.
Right.
So, like, what I see with the big names, like Joel Osteen and T.D. Jakes and Rob Bell, stuff like that, people who are based in Christianity and their belief systems, these people are not only nationally known but worldwide known. So they're the biggest ones. The biggest ones are talking about spirituality. They're not talking about religion. They can go quote a Bible verse that points towards their spiritual lesson, but they're not harping on the religious dogma of it so much. They're harping on, how do I enhance my life? How can I bring peace, happiness, and joy into my life? And why should I? And why should I believe that I can? And stuff like that. Because they're bringing spirituality into their religion, it's expanding and they're getting huge. The people who aren't doing that, the ones who are sitting there pounding on the podium going, why don't people come to my church anymore? The society's falling apart. Yeah. You better drag your cousin in by the ear because we're all going to hell. Those people, their churches are shrinking because people don't want to hear that anymore because they know it's a bunch of crap. In my opinion, it's a bunch of crap. You know, not everybody's going to agree with that. But it's because it's not love. You know, if I can't picture a loving creator saying it, then to me, I'm not interested in hearing it. It's just not. I was out kayaking with a friend yesterday that said a version of that. You know, that's how she determines what to listen to. Because when she hears somebody speaking and all of a sudden the red flag goes up and she's like, wait a minute, can I picture a loving creator saying those words, speaking to me like that? No? Okay, then I tune it out.
How do you determine when you're helping someone, when you're life coaching someone, how do you determine whether or not, like, how
much
do you like? Is it like getting
how much
into
God to bring in?
Is it like getting into a pool and like dipping your toe in the water first? Like,
yeah, kind of. You know, I mean, it's getting less and less like that because you can't, like, if you come into my space, it's very spiritual. You know, there's Buddhas hanging around and different symbols of different religions and stuff like that. So it's kind of obvious that you're walking into a space that there's some sort of spiritual beliefs. So it's not quite as, you know, most people that are interested have that slant. But I do get people from the outside sometimes that have, they get a little fearful when they walk in. It's like, oh crap, this dude's like all spiritual and stuff. But so what I do is I just don't lead with the chin, and for a boxing term, I just don't jump in and say, hey, the creator says this or something, because they're just going to shut right down. So I'll just start talking more about, what prompted this podcast. It's the positive thinking, just a shift of perspective. A spiritual awakening sounds, oh my God, a spiritual awakening. It's
you're
so
gonna hear God talk to you,
right, and it's so profound, and it's unheard of, and it's rare, and it's mind blowing, and all this stuff. But when you understand that a spiritual awakening is just a shift of perspective, it's just looking at something one way, going, you know what? I'm stuck in this job forever. Or looking at it going, well, I'm stuck in this job for right now, but if I put 15 minutes a day job searching over a 6-month period, there's a good chance that I could find something different and then step out of it. That's a shift of perspective. And then just shifting that perspective, if you swallow it and really embody it and start living it, and change your life, that is a spiritual awakening, because you just awakened to the fact that you have control over your life by the way you look at it.
And you didn't say God at all during that.
No.
You didn't pray?
No, I didn't meditate. I didn't pray. I didn't, nothing.
But the shifting of the perspective is where it's at.
The shifting of perspective will change your life. Your outside world is a reflection of your inside world. Whatever you're thinking, you're projecting, you're becoming, you're seeing in your existence.
And that's your truth.
That's your truth.
At that time.
Well, right, at that truth. So at that time. So it's not your deep inner truth, but it's your reality that you're living. So it's that, that is why positive thinking works. That's why people have written these books and these people are, there's been a lot of success just based on positive thinking. Just thinking you can and walking in that direction. And then the evidence is its own, then you see it. Then it's your experience. And I always say your experience is the best thing that there is. It's the best teacher. Because I can say stuff, and sometimes people can put their faith in me a little bit and say, okay, I'm going to trust that Glenn's right for a little while. But that's only going to last for so long. You need to see results in your life. You need to do, if you do what I say and you don't see results, you're not going to continue doing it, nor should you. But if you do, if you attempt a shift of perspective, you start walking in that direction, all of a sudden your life starts getting better. Grab onto that as proof that this works, and then continue doing it.
What about that? You used a good example to me. You used one of those exercise balls that have the grooves on them. But like you can think of it like a record or anything like that. Like you're living in this, you're going on this groove,
right?
And like you end up shifting.
Yeah, and
in one direction.
I like the ball.
Right.
Because it has a slant to it. A ball is round.
Yes.
So like if you pick most of those exercise balls, the Swiss balls have little grooves in them that go around. And if you pick one just to the left or right of center, there's a little slant to it, pulling it. Gravity would be pulling it towards the outside. So those little grooves are the way you think. Those are the things that you've gotten used to. It's the neural pathways in your brain that it's the way you think. So you're thinking about a certain way, and that groove is deeper and deeper. And then when you need to start shifting the way you think, it's like if you have a groove to the right of the ball, then you have to try to get closer to the center. So you create a new groove of positive thinking to the left. Well, until that groove gets deep enough, there's gravity pulling it back to the right towards the old way of thinking. And you want to fall back into the old way.
Into that deep groove.
Into that deep groove, your norm, So you need to, it takes a little effort to create a new groove deep enough so you stay in it without falling into the one to the right of it, So, but once you create that new groove, it's your new norm. It's just the way you are. And that's your shift of perspective. You're looking at things in a different way, just a little bit healthier. Then you can take another groove up. It's I don't. I was talking to somebody and I ran over and grabbed that exercise ball and did it. And
it was
then,
me.
Yeah. And I think I did it to somebody before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I liked it. I think I did it with a group of people the first time, and I liked it. So I've done it like 2 or 3 times since.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's literally creating a new neural pathway, and I knew that from exercise, being a personal trainer, because when you're teaching a muscle to flex, so you can actually engage it in an exercise, you keep sending a signal, and you're going flex, and the muscle doesn't know what the heck you're talking about. All of a sudden, you get it, and the muscle does what you want it to, and you reinforce it. You go, yes, that's what I wanted. And then it literally creates a new neural pathway to that muscle. So that, that's kind of how I got that whole idea of it.
I have some awesome quotes.
Oh my
today.
God.
Number 1 is from JC. Not that JC.
JC Chazet?
Not Jay-Z.
Or Jay-Z.
Actually, it's Joseph Campbell.
This is the first time ever that Joseph Campbell has been confused for Jay-Z.
Find a place inside where there's joy, and the joy will burn out the pain. How do you feel about that, Glenn?
That's good. I'll take that.
How about this one?
Joseph Campbell is awesome. He's
I
like
love his
such
soups.
That's awesome. That's joyful. He's like a foundational spiritual teacher for a lot of people.
This is awesome. Keep your face to the sunshine, and you cannot see a shadow. Helen Keller.
Well, she couldn't see anything.
Dave.
And I was just going to say...
How'd she know?
I was just going to say, you probably shouldn't look at the sun, Helen, because you're going to be blind. You can't see anything when you look at the sun. You're blinded. That's a terrible quote. It was said by a...
quote.
No, it's not, because if you look at the sun, you can't see anything.
She's insightful, though.
Insightful.
Oh, no.
She's insightful.
Guys, this is horrible. I'm just going to move on to another quote. Dave, you've ruined this.
We should stop the quotes, because this is terrible.
An arrow can only be shot by pulling it backward. So when life is dragging you back with difficulties, it means that it's going to launch you into something great.
Sure.
One of my friends has an
Who is
example
that?
like that.
It doesn't say.
It's Helen Keller
Does
again.
it
Anonymous.
say unknown?
Anonymous.
And now for a Helen Keller joke.
You can't stop the waves,
Well-
but you can learn to surf.
All right, all right.
True that.
These are so, like... Those are so generic motivational quotes.
You know,
that
Helen
mean
Keller,
nothing.
though, the reason that she does have a lot of insightful quotes because she was stuck within herself.
She has poor sight.
You know, in a lot of ways. I mean,
Well,
she
yeah.
was so she had to go within herself to find that peace. You know, that's why she understood things so deeply, in my opinion. So there.
I love her diary.
No, that's Anne
That's
Frank.
Anne Frank.
What's the difference? No one knows.
Oh my
the
God,
difference
we have to
between
get
the two.
back on topic. This was
We have like 3
this was a
minutes.
sharp left, man. This was like
So about not having to have God.
Hold on. At the beginning of this, Dave said that I was the derailer of the show.
You just derailed us with like 3 random quotes that meant nothing.
The quotes are a part of the show.
Those have nothing to do with living without God. I mean, not living without God, but
living without the God word.
Before we started this,
with
I
making
said 2
change
things.
without saying, you know.
So, well, what do you? How
said
do
he
you
wanted a-
looking at the sun.
He said
and
he
not
wanted
seeing
a
shadow.
positive thinking quote instead of, because I said quotes of positive thinking without God are probably going to be hard to come by. And Glenn said, just look up positive thinking quotes.
Oh.
That's all I want for this episode.
So there we go, positive thinking.
Yeah.
But it didn't, and it didn't have.
Don't look directly
God.
into the sun, Helen
They
Keller.
didn't have God. That's right, Dave.
Just positive thinking stuff. But see, now this brings us to the other part. So let's say you say, all right, I want to change my life. I want it to get better, but I don't want to do the God stuff.
Yeah, I don't want it.
Okay, you got it. So now when we bring in positive thinking, you can't smack those aside
Well, I
too.
don't like that either. Because I'm pessimistic.
Right.
And I want to stay that way.
See, and that
And don't
that-
say God either.
that's a recipe to stay stuck, though.
Making that groove deeper.
Yeah.
Dave, there
I
are a
wanna
lot
know.
of previous episodes to this
I could
podcast that I'd like to
benefit.
recommend to you that I know that you were here with headphones on during.
You know, I was here in spirit.
Actually, I
that's-
don't think you were.
Right. I was physically here, but I was online.
But that's it. It's the if anybody decides that they just want to backhand anything, then they will. They'll just knock it away. No, that's not. No, I don't want to. No. Oh, okay. Then you want to stay stuck. That's okay. You can do that.
It's not okay, though.
It is if that's what you really want. I mean, nobody else can change your mind, though. You know, that's what it is. It's like it has to be okay because it's the reality that you've set into.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once hopefully you're going to get to the point, or anybody's going to get to the point where they're going to go, you know what? This sucks. I don't want to. I'm going to experiment with another way. And then, then you can grab onto the positive thinking things. But it's not just You know what? I think the reason that those quotes didn't connect with Dave was because they were so generic.
And they were very
They
generic. That's what I
they were
said.
broad,
Yeah.
so you couldn't implement them into your life. But when I talked about, what was the example I gave earlier about getting a new job?
Yeah,
That was more practical, so you could grab onto it and you didn't bat it away.
exactly.
So it's like the broad, always know that it's sunny and everything's wonderful. Shut up.
Yeah.
But like, okay, well, why don't you just try taking a situation that you look at negatively and look at it this way? Oh, okay, well, I can try that. I mean, that's how I woke up initially. When people were saying spiritual awakening, I was like, I'm screwed. That ain't happening. I mean, I don't believe in God. If there is a God, I know it hates me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit here and have some sort of spiritual awakening that I've never seen anybody have ever. I'm hosed. It's not going to happen, But then once I understood a spiritual awakening was just a change of thinking. It was just a change of perception, a different way of looking at things. So I was like, okay, so I need to believe in the possibility that I might be able to look at things a little bit differently than the way I look at them now.
And that right there is all it is.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, I think I can start on that. I might be able to do that.
You know what's funny? The actual term spiritual awakening is kind of like those generic quotes. It's like, what does that even mean?
Right.
And it also, to me, it has such a heavy implication to it. It's like, we're talking like, does this mean I need to achieve Zen?
Yeah.
What the hell is it? But if you break it down to like literally it's just even being open to the possibility of thinking differently than you are.
Yeah.
That could be a spiritual awakening?
Yes.
That's the same thing?
That's it.
Because it sounds like something way bigger than that.
Exactly.
And that's what I think.
And no, it's and I mean it's a wonderful point, and it's such a big point that in recovery it's become a huge thing. Like the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the founding book, principles and pages that all 12-step recovery programs are based on, is that one book. The first 164 pages have not been changed since they were written.
Long time ago.
Right, yeah. Was it I used to know this, 1949 or 47, something like that. So it hasn't been changed. What they did do, though, the only thing that they did was they put some appendices at the back. And the appendices that they put in was it talked about a spiritual awakening. Spiritual experiences, it's called. I believe, spiritual experience. And it says that. It says, in our original publishing of this book, we gave people people have thought that a spiritual awakening was some big, overwhelming thing. And it's usually more of the learned variety. It's usually changing the way your perceptions on things.
Yeah.
And it's it's like a page long, and it goes into that. But they found that it was so important to include that. They haven't changed the first 164, but that was so important to clarify that people's understandings of what a spiritual awakening was, because people were going to get sober and they're like, oh my God, I have to have a spiritual awakening. I'm screwed.
I need to find God.
So they felt it that important to clarify it in that book. So it's, you're not the only one that feels that the understanding of what a spiritual awakening needs to be clarified.
Yeah.
It is. It's huge.
I think that can be very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, just to know that you just need to start looking at things a little bit differently, start implementing that in your life, and then you can use your experience to shift your perceptions on something else, and then shift your perceptions on something else. And then if you get to the point down the road where you start going, hey, I'm feeling really good, I'm almost feeling like I'm developing a connection with something bigger than me. Well, then you can look into it then. Or you may never feel that way. So never look into it. Who cares? Your life's better. You know? The whole point is to be happy, joyful, and peaceful. So if you're feeling that way, keep doing what you're doing. If you're not feeling that way, try doing something to get yourself there, just by looking at things a little bit differently. And usually you have to go outside yourself to find the shift of perception, because your mind is so used to looking at things one way. You have to read a book or talk to somebody, ask somebody that has a positive outlook, how can I look at this differently? You know, get some outside input and then attempt it.
I got a quote. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Wayne Gretzky.
Michael Scott.
Who?
Nothing.
That was Wayne Gretzky, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, good. All right, people. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Long-time listener.
Yes.
But pay attention more.
Thanks for being here as usual, Ben.
Hey, I'm contractually obligated.
Contracts. That's funny.
And you will find us at, or me anyway, at life-enhancement-services.com. Anything you want to say, Ben? Listen to The Sky is Falling.
Free Mandela.
Yeah, check out if you're a fan of
Did
this.
that really just happen?
Dave and I have a podcast called The Sky is Falling.
Hey now.
That is every other Wednesday.
Hopefully.
It's the Wednesday before the new Life Lessons and Laughter is released.
Yeah.
Cool.
So same week.
Listen. And thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
This podcast is presented by New Shore Productions. Executive producers Glenn Ambrose, Benjamin Barber, and David DeAngelis.